Yo, what is going on, everybody? Burger Creations back here with another video, and today I am super excited because we are going to be printing our first wearable helmet, or at least attempting to print and make our first wearable helmet. Now we're actually going to be printing a Crusader helmet that I found on Thingiverse. This thing is super cool. Now I've actually always wanted a Crusader helmet just because of the history behind it and how it looks so dope, and I've always just wanted a knight helmet in general. When I saw this file, I just had to print it. So without further ado, let's start printing. Let's get everything in our slicer, sliced up, and let's get building our helmet. Alright, so this will be the Crusader helmet model that we will be using. This was designed by Soljon, and it is Sting 2952496. Now, this model looks super cool, but we're actually going to pull the files off of a remix version of the model. The remix is Sting number 4352231, and the reason we're using this remix is because it broke up the helmet into smaller pieces to actually fit on our smaller printers. So for this helmet, the total print time at 40 millimeters a second and at a 0.2 layer height, I estimated that we can get all of our parts printed in about 158 hours and 55 minutes, which if you do the math is just over 6.5 days. And in total, this will use about 974 grams of filament, or basically one whole roll. All in all, this is going to be a super long print, and once it's printed, then we actually have to get working on it. So without further ado, let's get the printers running and let's get building. Alright, so we already ran into one problem. So this one was different from all the other top pieces because it was printed upwards. And I did this for only one piece to save time, and I instantly regretted it, as these supports to take off on the bottom have been absolute hell. So I was chopping off and I was trying to get it off, and I ended up peeling this whole top section right here. And I mean, you can even still see there's some sections here. So instead of reprinting this, I'm going to try to save this piece. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take some filler and try to spread it evenly and then sand it down to match all the heights and everything. Hopefully when that's done, it will look fine or good enough. I mean, I struggled a lot with these supports. I ended up taking the electric sander to it and doing as much as I can. I mean, it looks already better than it was, but I mean, you can tell there is a difference. But maybe it's just battle. Maybe I'll throw on some clumps on some other sections to make it fit in. Maybe this, like, you know, wasn't like the bestly crafted Crusader helmet. Otherwise, I mean, these supports just have been a pain, so I've kind of been leaving them since they've been on the inside of the helmet. But since this one was on the outside of the helmet, I really tried to get it as perfect. So let's fill this up, and then I'm probably going to fuse it together before I sand it. That way I can keep a congruent shape, and that way if I do it a little too much, this guy isn't a little too short compared to the others. So anyway, let's continue our building of our helmet. So the helmet is all fused together, but this was hell to put together. You can see a lot of rough fuse lines here and there, a lot of random cracks. Like this ledge, it's overlapping because I could not fit it anyway. There's a lot of gaps in this thing, so we're gonna have to do kind of a lot of work to try to make this look like one piece, because right now it looks like a catastrophe. So I'm really hoping we'll be able to fix this guy up, make it look smooth, and make it like one helmet piece, because right now this is kind of like a mangled, jangled looking helmet. But without further ado, let's continue, and hopefully we can save this, because this was a lot of hours of printing and a lot of filming, and I would hate to waste it all. Let's do this. Alright, so I just applied a crap ton of filler onto this thing to fill all the gaps and cracks that this print had. So I'm going to let this dry pretty much overnight, and tomorrow I'm going to sand it down and probably repeat this process. And then once that's all done, and once it's up to standards in my head, I'm gonna put on the primer and filler, and then finally we can actually start painting this thing. So this is definitely a little bit more work than I thought it would be, but I'm still super excited. I mean, it's fully together, so even if it looks a little off, we'll fix it. We'll make it too. But yeah, so right now it's just a waiting game. Alright guys, so the paint has finally finished drying, and I would like to present to you my Crusader helmet. I mean, honestly, this thing came out absolutely incredible. It is super strong, super durable, and for the amount of trouble that I had and the way it was looking for a long time, I honestly never thought this thing would come together. So I definitely will say that this has been my hardest project so far, and I know I probably say this a lot, but I have to say this is definitely my most favorite project so far. It was super cool to make. It was very kind of hard though to get the pieces to come together and get them to fit. That is the one downside of having a small printer and printing all the parts in small sections, is you got to make sure everything lines up correctly, and I didn't, which is how I ended up with this little error here, because there was a giant gap that I had to fill. So it's not perfect, I would say, but I do say, although I wanted it smooth, how the rough look makes it look like kind of like a war helmet, like it's been used, it's been battered before, it's maybe freshly painted, but it was hammered by steel. It just looks super cool. This helmet is actually pretty heavy. I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise. I think everything is about either 15 or 20% density. But yeah, this thing came out super, super cool. The red cross in the middle, I think, really brings home and brings this whole helmet together. That was definitely the easiest part to do. The hardest part was definitely trying to fill up all the cracks and holes and make it look like it's one solid helmet. I failed on some parts, I've succeeded on other parts, but I think overall it still came out as an amazing looking helmet. I did add some helmet pads in here. These are actually from my Mandalorian helmet. I threw them in here to see if you could, how comfortable it is to wear it, and it is, it's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's wearable and it's super, super cool. So hope you all enjoyed. If you did, make sure you leave a like and comment down below. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe for more. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.